Our friend that we have in common, Cheryl Green, told me about you. I've been listening to your podcast and I love it. It's so dope and fresh. I'm kind of a geek, so I watch like a lot of PBS and I listen to NPR. And so it reminds me of like radio documentaries.
Oh, yeah.
I particularly enjoyed when you were talking to Leroy about the Black history, especially from a disabled perspective. I did something like that on my Instagram, and some of my friends were like, keep it coming, AJ. So now you're a resource. Keep it coming, AJ. Ajani, Gerard Murray. A lot of people call me AJ. Keep it coming, AJ.
And me, I'm Thomas Reed, producer and host of this podcast. I usually reserve the opening of the episode for me to tell you a bit about what this podcast is all about. But as you'll see in a minute, AJ's a media connoisseur. So I was like, man, everyone needs to hear his review. I like to let new listeners know that here, we bring you compelling people impacted by all degrees of blindness and disability, told in a way that sounds, tell 'em, AJ.
Dope and fresh.
And I do always hope that Read My Mind Radio can be a
resource
for anyone, especially those adjusting to vision loss. And with that said, let's do this. Read my mind. Read my mind. Radio.
I became a big fan of radio because of Tom Joyner. We went to one of his Sky shows in Atlanta. It was at Greenbrier Mall. It was the whole cast, and then we listened to the SOS Band. From that point, for about 2 or 3 years, I did a mock radio show.
A youngster at the time, AJ studied the format of the now retired Tom Joyner, host of the #1 nationally syndicated urban, that's code for black, morning radio show. AJ created his own show, which he put on for his family.
To make a long story short, because as I told you earlier, I can really talk and go on and on. I kind of sort of gave up going to radio because I realized that in mainstream FM radio, you don't really program your own show. It's basically playing the same music. And also to get to where I really wanted to get to and the kind of radio that I would do is something that you have to be in the game years and years for, like a Tom Joyner.
AJ knew his true passion.
I'm a huge fan of the screen, big and small. From the time I was a very little kid, I was just enamored by the screen. I grew up on 3-camera sitcoms, Cosby Show, A Different World, Facts of Life, Different Strokes. As I got older, there was the Fresh Prince era, the TGIF era, the Martin era, the WB era. My love for television in the very beginning was the sitcom.
Of course, there's the big screen.
My mom loves film. When it came to film, she wasn't really restrictive on what we could watch. Now, we couldn't watch everything. There were certain films I couldn't watch, but like, it was 1989. So I was 7 at the time. I remember actually going to see Do the Right Thing.
Okay.
I had to, of course, cover up my eyes doing the Mookie Ice scene.
Mookie. Come on. I knew it. I'm not playing.
Shout out to Rosie Perez. If you don't know the scene, let's just say ice cubes are for more than chilling your lemonade on a hot summer day.
I appreciated that several years later.
Now, I'm from the era when parents let you ride in the front seat with no seatbelts, where you were encouraged to leave the house and explore, so I cannot judge. You know the movie Death Wish? Charles Bronson. I saw that at 6, and nobody cared. Like, nobody cared.
I'll get it.
Who is it?
Groceries, man.
Don't open it. He's lying. Fortunately, There's a lot of good that can come from family movie outings.
That's one of the ways we connected as a family.
Very nice. So was the whole family going?
My mom and my two sisters. In my house, it's 3 women and me. We're all very, very close. That's one of the ways we bonded. Sometimes we would listen to classical music or something really peaceful because I grew up in a very peaceful household.
Television and movies can also initiate conversations about all sorts of topics and even ways to explore culture. Just be careful about that last one. We know Hollywood doesn't always get culture right.
I always had this dream of being an actor. It was something that was always looming in the back of my mind. It was always in my spirit, but I didn't know how to physically make the connection, or I couldn't necessarily afford acting classes at the time. And I wasn't in high school at the time to be a part of an acting club.
Financial accessibility. We don't often talk about that one in our conversations around access. AJ, though, made use of what was in his reach.
The screen was my classroom. And so anything I could get my hands on or watch, or like any old interviews, I really appreciate actors that do interviews. Like I stayed stuck on Biography Channel and Actor Studio. And anytime there was a documentary series about behind the scenes, I'm all over it.
Screens bring their own access challenges.
When I watch reruns of television in the 50s and 60s, even like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, they always had like a voiceover guy read everything. One of the things that I always laugh at is like watching reruns of the old Andy Griffith Show. The announcer says, "It's the Andy Griffith Show, starring Andy Griffith." And I always laugh because I'm like, didn't he just say it was the Andy Griffith Show? But I realized he said that because he was reading the opening credits. Everything was announced. It really helps me as a visually impaired person.
People think blindness is on and off. So either you see everything or you don't. I know that there are real specific challenges for people with low vision when it comes to that.
I'm glad you brought that up. There could be things that I can see one day, and the very next day I won't be able to see it. I look like I can see. And so people, they start laughing, or they think you're lying, or they think you're not looking hard enough. I'm like, I can't see this. Even when I'm in my power chair, I would rather like walk behind someone so it can be like a human guide.
AJ's vision loss is related to his cerebral palsy, or CP. It impacts all 4 limbs, so as he described to me, he needs physical assistance with most things. Most things physical, that is.
I was watching Happy Days or Laverne and Shirley or Three's Company or All in the Family. I would create a character. None of it is written down because I'm not able to physically write. If I was watching Three's Company, if Jack and Larry were going down to the Regal Beagle, I was too. If I was watching Law and Order, no, I couldn't be a detective, but I could help Jack McCoy as one of his assistant DAs. I just made myself a part of the cast.
AJ's imagination was open. His opportunity to hit the stage came in high school.
I had such a ball in high school. It was such an atmosphere of like, we're going to support you and you're part of us. My favorite drama teacher, his name was Dr. McMission. I was thanking him for like making sure the stages had ramps and that I was included on all the trips. He let me know you were a part of this club and a part of this plays. And it's because you were good, not because you were in a chair. And that made me feel so good.
Following high school, he continued working on his craft by attending workshops and finding a community of other actors.
I would say over the last 3.5 years, I've gotten the opportunity to be on screen. The first thing I booked when I got my agent was I did an episode of Drunk History, and that comes on Comedy Central. That episode was actually about 504 Act. That's kind of the precursor to the ADA. Then I was able to do an episode of ABC Speechless. I played a character named Charlie. I was able to do an independent film called Bartow Blues. It's an interesting, very non-linear, artsy film that talks about depression and bipolar. I played the neighbor to the lead character.
You going to Thailand?
That's the plan, man.
I heard it's beautiful.
His latest role is Best Summer Ever, a musical.
Yeah, I heard that too.
It takes place in a high school.
It's a romantic story, and all kind of teenage angst ensues. I play the older brother, so I'm not involved in the teenage angst, but I do sing in the film.
The film consists of a cast of over 60 disabled actors, as well as non-disabled actors. It's being screened at South by Southwest on March 14th. You can also see AJ in Becoming Bulletproof. Every year, actors with and without disabilities meet at Zeno Mountain Farm to write, produce, and star in original short films.
We had an opening, an unexpected opening. I was like, this guy AJ keeps writing me, and I just got a good feeling about him.
It was like, we'd love for you to come. And I thought they would be in a...
AJ is the focal point of the doc.
I also did a documentary. It's called Take a Look at This Heart. So I talk about my experience around my sexuality and dating. So that's an ensemble. So it's not just me. I believe that's now streaming on Amazon.
AJ's getting some roles and definitely making a name for himself by judging film festivals, hosting events, and yet he found himself in a dark place.
Heavy dark. Like I was really, really down. I was on a walk with my mom. I was in California at the time, and it was a beautiful sunny day. It came to me. Instead of being down about like not getting an audition or, nobody's calling or you're having a hard time with employment. Why don't you write what you want to see?
By now you can tell AJ puts a lot of thought into what's on the screen, big or little. So of course he'd do the same for his script.
A lot of characters that we see, it's either like one person with a disability, and I'm not saying you don't ever see it. Typically, they don't have any friends. To my experience, I have a bunch of friends with disabilities, not just with CP, but all kinds of disabilities. So I just want to lend my voice to reflect that on screen.
Think Living Single, Friends, or The Big Chill.
These group of friends, people with disabilities, and a more adult context, all type of different disabilities like CP, like me. He also works. You have another character who has CP. They walk with a gait. Another character, she has a traumatic brain injury and she's very athletic.
And may I lobby for a blind guy who likes audio and...
If we get picked up, brother, I'll write you in a couple episodes.
There you go, man. There you go. All right, fine. It's not about me. In order to physically write his words, thoughts, and ideas, AJ has a very special writing partner.
My mom helps me a lot with a lot of stuff behind the scenes. We're actually writing a book, and that's going to be out sometime soon. And we do public speaking.
The latter is done under the name I Push, You Talk. What a powerful statement. Pursuing your passion can really be hard. There are always reasons to throw in the towel or change course. Legitimate reasons that wouldn't in any way classify someone as a quitter. For example,
just because you perform in school, that doesn't mean that it's going to translate to screen or you're going to have this career.
There's also the physical pain that comes with his CP.
I've been in pain since my early teens to preteen. As I've gotten older, sciatic pain and nerve pain. Over the years, it's like sort of advanced to like more of a chronic level as far as nerve pain. My love for everything that I've experienced and everything that I'm going to and want to experience has to be bigger than my pain.
You don't probably see people with disabilities in many of these films that you are watching.
That's 100% accurate.
So it doesn't sound like that dissuades you.
I didn't necessarily have this as a child, but with the combination of my mother speaking to me and my imagination, I just have this sense that it was put inside of me. So I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing. There's people of faith all in my family. So I do have a spiritual background. With all those things combined, because of my atmosphere, I'm the man you're interviewing today.
That's Mr. Ajani Gerard Murray. Actor, writer, speaker, consultant, and soon-to-be author, producer, and
things sort of have this way of, coming back around full circle. I've gotten into podcasts, and I want to start a podcast, and I want to do it with a group of people, like a morning radio show. Sometimes my dreams are very big and lofty, but I have a lot of faith, and I think it could happen.
It really does all start with imagination, and it continues with that determination, persistence, and faith. AJ, my brother, thank you for letting me share your story. And you know what's up. You're officially a member of the Read My Mind radio family. You can find out more and stay in touch with AJ on social media. On Twitter, he's at GotNextAJ. On Instagram, he's at Ajani AJ Murray. Ajani Murray on Facebook. You can catch both Becoming Bulletproof and Take a Look at This Heart streaming on Amazon. For those with that Prime membership, it's included. Unfortunately, they don't have audio description. However, Becoming Bulletproof does have it included on the DVD. Best Summer Ever is screening at South by Southwest, so if you're hanging out there, go check it out. I'll have links over on readmymind.com to AJ's social media and more, including a web series on YouTube. I hope you enjoyed getting to know AJ as much as I have. I look forward to continuing our conversations. I have a feeling, based on his thoughtful insight, you're going to hear from him again in this space. Now check this out. If you agree that what we're planting here on the podcast can provide some nourishment or maybe a sweet treat, please share this with others. You dig? If you want to help it grow a bit, go on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating. 5 stars. A review would be pretty good too. It all helps, but please do not apply water to the podcast. That will not help it grow. Read My Mind Radio is available wherever you get your particular flavor of podcasts. And remember, links and transcripts are at readmymind.com. That's R to the E, I, D,
and that's me in the place to be.
Like my last name. Peace.